was that the great companies had a vision that had a higher purpose, beyond just money or profits or being number one in a market. And kind of the irony there is that by not making profits the number one priority of the company, or the higher purpose of the company, it actually enabled these companies to generate more profits in the long term. I like to say chase the vision, not the money. Our belief is that there's a huge difference between motivation and inspiration. And if you can inspire your employees through a vision that has a greater purpose beyond just money or profits or being number one in a market, and if you can inspire your employees by having and committing to corporate core values that match their own personal values, then you can accomplish so much more, and you don't really need to worry about the motivation part of it. And that's when we decided we wanted our brand to be about the very best customer service. And when we did that, it kind of surprised us what happened. Suddenly, once we communicated it out to our employees, we found that employees were suddenly a lot more engaged and passionate about the company. And when customers called, they could sense that the person on the end of the phone wasn't there just for a paycheck, but truly wanted to provide great service. And when vendors came and visited our offices, we found that they wanted to stay longer or come more frequently because that enthusiasm wore off onto them, rubbed off onto them. And then in 2005 was when we rolled out our core values and decided not only do we want culture to be important, but we in fact want it to be the number one priority of the company, because if we get that right, then the customer service will come naturally as a byproduct of that. We really want to do the more have the more human connection, so we're more high touch instead of high tech. Where does the story begin and where does it end? And for us, the story doesn't end when we get the credit card. It's really just this ongoing, lifelong relationship with customers. And we really think of ourselves as being in the stories and memories business, and experience and emotions business. And so that's what eventually led us to really think about building the brand to be about happiness, or delivering happiness. So wanted to take a step back from all this business talk and actually have you guys think about this question: what is your goal in life? And so whatever your actual answer is, think about that. And what's interesting is that if you actually ask different people this question, you'll get all sorts of different answers. Some people will say to grow a company, some people will say get a great job or get a boyfriend, girlfriend. And then ask yourself why. So whatever you had as your goal in life, ask yourself why, and then people will come up with different answers: retire early, make money, find a soulmate, and then ask yourself why again, and people will come up with the next set of answers. But if you keep asking yourself why over and over again, what's interesting is that eventually everyone ends up with the same answer, and that's whatever their goal in life is, whatever they're pursuing, they believe will make them happier. The science of happiness. The formal name for it is positive psychology, and it actually didn't exist prior to 1998. So I'm not talking about go to the self-help section of a bookstore and read books that say think positive and you'll be happy. I'm talking about actual research that's been done. And prior to 1998, almost all of psychology was about looking at people that had something wrong with them and then figuring out how to make them more normal. But almost nobody bothered to study how do you look at normal people and make them happier. And one of the consistent things that has come out of the research is that people are very bad at predicting what will make them happy in the long term. Most people think, once I get X, then I'll be happy, or once I achieve X, then I'll be happy, when the research shows that's not true. If people are bad at predicting what will make them happy, then for us trying to build a brand around customer service isn't just as simple as asking customers what do they want, because they may not know. And same thing for employees. If we're trying to build a culture with a lot of happy employees, you can't always just ask employees what it is that will make them happy, because what the research has shown is that people are bad at predicting what will actually make them happy. A few different frameworks, a kind of Cliff Notes version of what I thought was interesting from the stuff that I've read about. And the first framework is that happiness is really just about 4 things: perceived control, perceived progress, connectedness, meaning the number and depth of your relationships, and vision, meaning being part of something bigger than yourself. And what's interesting is that you can not only apply this to your own life, but you can apply it to business as well. Another framework is Maslow's hierarchy. There's a great book called Peak by Chip Conley, P-E-A-K, where he actually condenses this into 3 levels and applies it to employees and customers and investors as well. And so, for example, for employees, the 3 levels of the pyramid are in terms of what they think of their work, whether they think of it as a job versus career versus calling. And our whole goal at Zappos is to move them up the pyramid, to think of their time at Zappos as a calling, and we still want employees at Zappos 10 years from now. And the only way that's going to happen is if we provide all the training and mentorship and so on so that they feel like they're growing both personally and professionally. And so we offer a lot of different classes. We have 30 or 40 different courses now, and they're not just professional courses. There's also, for example, one on the science of happiness that helps them with their personal growth as well. And the last framework I want to share was 3 different types of happiness: pleasure, engagement, and meaning. The first type I like to call the rock star type of happiness because it's about always chasing the next high. And it's great if you can sustain it. The problem is it's very hard to sustain unless you're basically a rock star. And what the research has shown is out of these 3 types of happiness, as soon as your source of stimuli goes away, your happiness level just drops right back down to where it was before. The second type is called flow. There's a book by the same name, and it's about those moments, and we've all experienced this. For some people, it might be while running. For other people, it might be painting. But it's about when you're so into something that you're doing that 3 hours pass by, but it seems like only 20 minutes have passed by. And other attributes that are associated with this are that you lose a sense of self-consciousness or even self because you're so into what you're doing. And professional athletes refer to it as being in the zone, where peak performance meets peak engagement. And kind of the strategy there is just notice when it happens and then either change who you hang out with, your friends or your environment or your job or where you live to try to have that type of occurrence happen more frequently. And what the research has shown is that this is actually the second longest lasting type of happiness. And the third type is about being part of something bigger than yourself. And so that might mean for some people volunteering for their favorite charity, for example. And what the research has shown is this is actually the longest lasting type of happiness. So what I thought was interesting is most people go through life chasing after the first type, thinking once I could sustain it on an ongoing basis, which is pretty much impossible, then I'll worry about the second type, and then if I ever get around to it, then I'll worry about the third type. When based purely on the data from the research, the proper strategy should be focus on the third type of happiness first, and then layer on top of that the second type, and then the first one's really just icing on the cake. Just wanted to end with, the research has shown that great businesses are the ones that are able to combine profits, passion, and purpose. And what I thought was really interesting, and this was kind of a weird aha moment for me when I took a step back, was that the research from the science of happiness is about being able to combine pleasure, passion, and purpose. So in a weird way, it's almost like what makes for great business is almost like a fractal of what makes sense for individual happiness. Think about happiness as a business model. Think about what % of your time do you want to spend learning about the science of happiness, and how can learning about it really help yourself personally, your business, or your brand. And if the research shows that businesses that have a higher purpose actually are able to achieve more long-term profits, and if the research shows that for you personally, if you have a higher purpose that actually leads to more happiness, then think about what is your business, your company's higher purpose, and what is your own higher purpose. If through this presentation you've been inspired to focus more on making customers happier by really thinking more about the customer experience or customer service, or you've been inspired to really make employees happier by focusing more on company culture, or you've just been inspired to make yourself happier by learning a little bit more about the science of happiness, if any of those things have happened, then I'll have done my part in helping Zappos achieve our higher purpose, which is all about delivering happiness to the world. Thank you very much.